Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Miss Texas Show. It's your co-host, Melissa Santana. Excited as always to bring you another edition of the show, but also another wonderful guest. And today's guest is none other than Nathan. Nathan is an author, speaker, advocate, filmmaker, actor, screenwriter, and literally a host of so many other things, and has impacted so many other great people. And so we are going to get to learn more from Nathan today, about Nathan, about his incredible story, and all of the incredible things he is a part of. And so I am looking forward to it. Hope you are too.
The Ms. Texas Show is a voice of hope for victims, survivors, advocates, and community leaders against gender-based violence to share their stories and resources. We began showcasing life in Texas. Today we are impacting lives not only in Texas, but also around the world. Under our segment Military Time, we run this segment in partnership with the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. We invite military and veterans who have overcome traumatic events to share their experiences during and after their military service. Under our beauty segment, we invite fellow pageant winners and contestants, artists, musicians, actors, models, and dancers, and last but not least, our survivor leaders from family violence, sex trafficking, sexual assault, stalking, and other traumatic events who are ambassadors for these causes to share their lives and the impact they have made. To become a guest on our show, email us at msusatexas@gmail.com. If you would like to support victims and survivors of gender-based violence, make a tax-deductible donation to Hope Fix Global at www.hopeyxglobal.org.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Miss Texas Show. Your co-host, Melissa Santana. Excited as always to bring you another edition of the show, but also another wonderful guest. And so our guest today is none other than Nathan. I actually did not verify your last name. Nathan, how do you pronounce your last name?
Spiteri.
Spiteri. Okay, so y'all heard
Spiteri.
it. So now we have it. But Nathan is definitely someone that comes to us with a wealth of knowledge and experience, because Nathan is not only an author, speaker, advocate, filmmaker, but also actor and screenwriter. But on top of all of these things, he is also a sexual abuse survivor. He was born in Canberra, Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Okay, there we go. Got one point. But Nathan was also sexually abused as a child, was threatened with his life and that of his family. As a result, he turned to drugs, violence, and sex as a result to survive. But when he hit rock bottom, he finally came out to the other side through intense therapy, rehab, Alcoholics Anonymous, narcotics, and Sex Anonymous. Nathan has chosen to use his painful past and life experience to help others. He is one of the very few voices of male sexual abuse to speak so openly and publicly, and he wants to start the conversation and change the narrative surrounding this global epidemic. Nathan's TED Talk is on how I broke up with my abuser. He has been on several podcasts and interviews. He was a keynote speaker at the 7th Annual Surviving Sexual Abuse Conference in Madison, Wisconsin. He's also working as a coach for those who have been through a similar experience. He has aligned himself with organizations both in Australia and in the U.S. to raise awareness, educate people, and act as an advocate for sexual abuse. He's also a global ambassador for the Children's Liberation Foundation, an ambassador for the Australia Says No More campaign as part of the global No More campaign, and he is also proud to be associated with Men's Link, a Canberra-only based organization. He is also honored to provide support to Survivors and Mates Support Network, a leading association for male survivors of child sexual abuse in Australia, and its first book and memoir, Toy Cars, is published by Three Little Birds Press in Australia. He has studied acting in both Australia and the United States. He has starred in several films and theater productions in both countries. He has now turned his hands to writing and producing, and a feature film has been written on his life, whilst a limited series is in the process of being written. He currently resides in New York City, good old New York, and is with us today. And so with that, Nathan, we are super excited to be able to have you. We are so grateful that you also took time to be with us. And we would love to just first off give the viewers a chance to know, who are you, just a little bit about you, your journey, and what led you here today.
All right. Well, yeah, you covered most of it, but I I was born in Canberra, Australia, which is the capital city, and that's about a 3-hour drive south of Sydney. So it all started, I guess, when I was 8 years old. Me and my sister went to the local swimming pool, and we're talking about the mid-80s, when in the summertime your parents would say to you, go out, don't come back till it's nighttime, till it's 6 p.m. or whatever it was. So me and my sister went to the local swimming pool, which we'd done plenty of times before on our own. She left early with some friends. I stayed on my own, which I'd done again plenty of times on my own. We rode our bikes there. And towards the end of the afternoon, the pool was closing. Most people had left. I went into the change rooms to get changed. I had a man follow me in there and raped me in the showers of the change room. And the first words he said to me was that if I tell anyone, he'll kill me and kill my family. So again, as an 8-year-old in the 80s, when we don't have access to mobile phones, to the internet, to the organizations and the charities and the hotlines that we have today, I took that as gospel. So this relationship with this man went on for about 5 years. It started as a very violent and rough relationship. He would, choke me up against the wall, beat me up, rape me, where and whenever he wanted to, I guess, through his grooming, through his manipulation, through his lies, our relationship formed into a Stockholm syndrome relationship, where I felt love for this man, where I wanted to be with this man. I'd pushed my family away, my parents, my brothers, and my sister, and I just wanted to be with him, because all he would say to me was that this is what my family wanted, that my parents hate me, my brothers and my sister hate me, that he loves me, that I love him, that he's the only one who's going to care for me. All of those classic, I guess, grooming, manipulation kind of terms. So that went on for about 5 years. He abandoned me, and I say he abandoned me because he disappeared out of my life when I really needed him and I wanted to be with him at about 13. So for about 2 years after that, I was like, well, who am I? What am I? Who do I belong with? Am I gay? Am I straight? What the fuck is going on in my life? Where do I fit in this life? He told me how special I was, but then he's abandoned me. I've completely pushed my parents away and my brothers and my sister away, and he's the other one I want to be with. So for 2 years, I questioned who I was, and the shame started coming in, the depression started coming in. I started stealing my dad's cigarettes. He used to smoke at that time, and his alcohol, and was drinking and smoking at the age of 13 years old to numb the pain, to get it out of my head. And I grew up near an industrial part of Canberra. And in this industrial part of Canberra, there are a lot of sex clubs and cruise lounges and gay clubs and stuff. So I, as a 15-year-old, would ride my bike there, would go in, do what I did with these men, and then beat them up, bash them, rob them. And that was my fuck you to the world. That was my way of getting my power back, my way of feeling alive, my way of getting something back for me. And that went on for about 15 years. But, in that time, I was introduced to drugs. I was hanging out with the wrong people. I, was starting to do acting there in Australia and some modeling. And because as all I would do as a kid to get away from everyone would just go and watch movies in my parents' bedroom or in another TV room, and just watch movie after movie after movie. And that was how I could escape reality and just be with this guy and kind of transport myself into these movies and pretend to be one of the characters or one of the heroes in there. And that was my life. I was invited to New York to study acting, to write and to do a lot of that stuff. Came to New York thinking I could get away from that life and start over. But, as you know, New York is the biggest and the baddest city in the world. You can get what you want, when you want, how you want it. So much cheaper. Again, fell in with the wrong crowd, started shooting heroin, smoking crack, was in a bad place, tried killing myself. Until I finally told my best friend for the first time. I finally told someone for the first time in about 25 years what had happened to me. And through that, she helped me find a therapist. I started therapy. I did group therapy, rehab, AA, Narcotics, Sex Anonymous, as I said. And as a result of that, that was about 12 years ago. So now, in these 12 years of recovery, I now know who I am. I now understand my relationship with this man. I understand my relationship with my parents, my siblings, with men in general, with women. Um, and for me now, it's about giving back. For me, it's about helping people. If I can save one person's life, if I can stop one person from killing themselves, from abusing another child, from going down the road I did of drugs and violence, then I've done the right thing. And I truly believe that what happened to me as a child happened for a reason. And the reason why it happened to me is to tell my story, is to educate the world, is to shine the light on child sexual abuse and also male sexual abuse. Because what I've realized in my recovery, in me speaking about this, in me speaking about this epidemic, which is a global thing, it's not just Australia, it's not just America, it's a global thing, is that, and I'm generalizing here, obviously, is that no one gives a fuck about male sexual abuse. No one wants to talk about male sexual abuse. Let's sweep it under the carpet. Let's not know about it. Let's turn a blind eye to it. I've had many people in the media say to me when my PR firm or, the guys working for me, my PR company and my management have approached these people, they've said, if Nathan was a woman, we would talk to him today. Because he's a man, we are not going to talk to him. We don't want to know about his story. Or they've all said, go and make it with someone else and then come and talk to us afterwards. We don't want to be the first ones to do this story. So it's, it has been very frustrating. It has been very hard, but I truly believe that the more we talk about this, the more we shine light upon this, the more we talk about the narrative and how we need to change it, and just the statistics on male sexual abuse, the statistics on male suicide, the more people have to listen, the more people have to take notice and realize, okay, we need to do something about this. We need to change the narrative. And, there are not many men talking about this. My memoir is very raw. It is very real. I put my whole life in this book. I don't leave anything out, because for me, if you're going to tell a story like this, if you're going to talk about male sexual abuse and the consequences of what one goes through, you need to put the details in order for the audience to understand, for the listener, for the reader to understand. You need to know the details, because I can come out and say, and a lot of men have said this, I was abused as a kid, I was molested as a child, but that's all we're going to talk about it. And let's talk about where I am today and how great I am today and where I am today and what's going on in my life. But it's about the messy part in the middle of how we got there. That's important. Of what I went through, of the hitting the rock bottom to then coming out the other side. That's what's important. That's what people need to learn and people need to listen to in order to move forward with their recovery, in order to find some peace, to get closure, to survive, to be a survivor. So that's kind of my mission and where I'm at. And, as you touched on, I'm doing a TED talk on October 22nd, which is the day after the International Book Award, actually. And it's in Dallas. So I'm going to try and, fit both of them in if we can. But yeah, I'm doing a TED talk on that. My TED talk is about how I broke up with my abuser. Again, something that we don't talk about. We only talk about the act and today, but it's that whole messy part in the middle that's important. So that's kind of, me, where I'm at and who I am and what's going on with my life.
Man, and not only do I absolutely appreciate you sharing all of that, but also just such an incredible story, but also just, incredible, purpose that you have now gotten out of that, and just like, realigning that, like you said, and redoing that, but just also just, I think to begin with, what I really, really appreciate about, your platform especially is that I agree we don't have enough conversations about male sexual abuse. We also kind of act like it doesn't really happen. Like maybe if we don't talk about it, then, it ain't really occurring because males are never supposed to be abused. Like that is not supposed to be synonymous with male and like victim. Like that's not a thing. Like, and it's incredibly unfortunate, but also I just think we don't realize the damage that truly causes when we don't have those conversations. And so like, because it is happening in males, I'm glad that you are a living, breathing example of that. And that you're also an advocate for that. You know what I mean? And you're helping and you know better than anyone that obviously these things do occur. But it's also just the fact that for those males, unfortunately, who don't get that chance, who aren't believed,
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
or still sitting with that secret, and
Yeah.
so they're still sitting with it. They haven't found somebody to confide in, and then it's literally like killing them, for lack of a better word, from the inside, because
Absolutely.
they're not.
Absolutely, because if you look at the statistics, they say 1 in 5 to 1 in 6, depending on what case study has gone on. 1 in 5 to 1 in 6 men have been sexually abused in their life, and they're the men who come forward. So imagine the thousands and thousands and thousands of men who will never come forward because of shame, because of toxic masculinity, because of power, money, whatever their situation is, religion, culture. 79% of all global suicides are males, and over 70% of those suicides are men who have never come forward or gotten the help needed for their trauma, for their sexual abuse. So the statistics are huge for men who have never been, who have been sexually abused. But like you said, we don't want to talk about it. If we don't talk about it, it's like it never happens. So, that's why we need to talk. And, as much as I am an advocate for male sexual abuse, I'm an advocate for sexual abuse in general, also for women, because there's a lot of women out there who don't have a voice and who can't speak, and because of their relationship or whatever the situation is. I've had women from the Middle East reach out to me, who have read my story, and one of them said another lady from her city in the Middle East, I won't mention the country or anything, but another lady from her city came out and said she was sexually abused. Her husband murdered her because she brought shame on the family, and he got away with it because she brought shame on the family. I've had hundreds of boys from the Middle East, or hundreds of men, I should say, from the Middle East from India, have reached out to me saying that this is a huge problem in India. But again, because of religion, because of culture, it is not spoken about, and these boys just need to find a way to survive. So it is a global epidemic. You always hear stories in Europe of 20,000 boys being molested by priests, or whatever the situation was, and thousands of priests being in trouble, or whatever it is in institutions. So it's a global thing. It is a thing that we need to, as a community, as a global audience, need to start paying attention to in order to make the change. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. We're never going to change it. We're never going to help if we don't talk about it. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I definitely couldn't reach the mute button as quickly as I wanted to. But that's actually what I completely agree with as well. And that's why I feel like what I appreciate about everything, like you said, that you shared, is that that's why we just need to have more conversations in general.
Yes.
And stop acting, like ignoring the issue, and then and truly like ignoring the damage that, like we said, that it can cause. And like you said in that case, the fact that it can be inextricably combined with other violent acts that can happen. And so unfortunately, that's why I can't have enough conversations about sexual abuse, but also about domestic violence and what those things look like, and also so many other people that find themselves in abusive situations. And like you said, in that case, with that family, of course it was horrific for it to even have led to someone's death, and and for someone who was already being victimized, for them to even feel that, but also for those who are living and also are feeling victimized in other ways and being re-victimized because they aren't either believed, or because they're being ridiculed for it, or because they're being shunned, or, for any of those reasons. So that's why I feel like we definitely can't, emphasize it enough, bring more awareness to it enough, but definitely in communities, especially where it's not talked about. And honestly, people are they're actually punished, for coming forward for that. And that's why a lot of them won't have the conversation or won't say it. And so, especially with you too, I'm also, even though it took that time, I think what's also incredible is that 25 years is not a small amount of time whatsoever. I'm very glad that you found someone, you were able to confide in someone and be able to tell them, and to have that, and then be able to get your, healing process, like actually move forward once that happened. But I know that's incredible to have sat with that prior to that. And I think it's also incredible too, because we're talking about male population, but you shed light on the fact that this started when you were a child. And I think that that's also something that we can also not highlight enough, is that children should never be targeted for these things. I mean, I would love to live in a world where we see the end of child abuse in any form, but definitely in that case, I can see that, like you said, it led to some questioning, it led to most things, but you absolutely weren't an age where you shouldn't have even had to worry about that. You should have just been able to enjoy your day at the pool and not let that be interrupted by someone doing something like that would then go on for years. And it's incredible too, because you described a relationship after that I've heard some adults suffer from, like where they're also cut off from their family members, where they're made to question their very selves. Yeah. But this was as a kid. So I honestly had to remind myself, like, the ages that you were saying as I'm hearing that, because I'm like, wow, like this actually happens sometimes to older individuals. So let alone someone who's still trying to figure out what relationships even are, let alone be in one like that.
Exactly. So yeah, exactly. And like I said, as an 8-year-old, I had to grow up. I had to become a man to survive. I had to do what I needed to do to survive. Because he would always say to me as well that if I ever said anything, if I went to the police, I'm the one who's going to get into trouble, not him. He was going to be fine. He'd be let go. I'd be the one in trouble. So, it was such a confusing time. I was lost. I didn't know where I belonged and who I belonged with. And it all starts with education. It really does. And I don't blame my parents at all. My parents are the most beautiful people in the world. And we're talking about the mid-'80s. My parents are from Europe. I grew up in Australia, but my parents are European. They're old school European. They don't understand it. They don't, like you and I, we get it. We understand it. Whereas my parents are, my dad turned 75 this year. They're just old school. That shit doesn't happen in my family. We don't go through that stuff. So I think, what's important is education. And yes, we need to educate our children. We need to tell our children it's okay. But above that, we need to educate ourselves. Because if we don't educate ourselves as adults, as parents, as teachers, as whatever we are, whoever we are in relation to these children, how can we educate these kids? And I say that because as part of my talks, and I one of the most important things I learned through my recovery is that one of the most important things we need to tell our children from the youngest of ages, from 2-3 years old, when they start to understand words, is that their penis is called a penis, their vagina is called a vagina. We don't give it nicknames, especially for young boys. Young boys call their penis a pee-pee or whatever they want to call it. So if we make jokes about it, if we give it a nickname, then they think it's okay for other people to give it a nickname, to play with it, to make jokes about it. But if we say to our kids at the youngest of ages, it's your penis, it's your vagina, it belongs to you, no one can touch it. If you feel awkward, or if someone touches you, or if you're not sure, if you're scared, talk to us. Let them know that it's okay, that they're not going to get in trouble, that they're going to be believed, that everything's going to be okay for them. So we need to tell these things to our children straight away. And I've said this in a lot of my talks and a lot of my speeches, but in doing that, I've had so many parents come up to me at the end of that and say, I can't have that conversation with my child. So that's where the problem lies, because in order for us to educate our children, we need to educate ourselves. And if us as adults don't want to learn about it, don't want to know about it, want to turn a blind eye to it, how the hell are we going to educate our children? So it just it just baffles me that parents say to me, I can't have that conversation with my kid. That's too embarrassing, or I don't want to have that conversation. But these are your kids, these are your lives, your legacy, your future, so to speak. So we need to start talking about this stuff. We need to start being open, honest. We need to learn, we need to evolve, we need to educate ourselves so that we can educate our kids. We can teach them right from wrong. So that if someone does touch them, if someone does talk to them in an inappropriate way, if someone does whatever they do to them, these kids can know that it's wrong, know that they can talk about it, and know that they're going to be okay.
I can't agree more. And as someone who definitely worked previously at the Rape Crisis Center as well, and I saw that firsthand with different cases, and unfortunately, children not being able to articulate properly what happened to them, and that being part of the reason why, unfortunately, they weren't believed, or their case, didn't hold up as much. It's just incredibly unfortunate to see that, because it's absolutely incredibly wrong for these things to happen in the first place. No, they should not be happening. But when they do, because unfortunately we know evil exists in the world, and we know there are abusers, and we know that these abusers see those children as targets that they can easily manipulate and that they can take advantage of. And when they do, we absolutely want to equip our children and let them know like that they absolutely did not deserve what happened to them, that it was absolutely wrong, and that now we're here to help you. But in order to help you, yes, we need to do that in a proper way. So I feel like that's why I also appreciate so much what you're saying, because yes, that education is absolutely necessary. But I also agree, like you said, the stigma that is attached. There's too many times where individuals are like, well, I don't want to approach that conversation. I don't want to do that. Or they think the wrong part, which is that myth, that by having the conversation, children are going to want to engage in sexual behaviors, not knowing that it's the opposite.
Yes.
When you help them, they actually tend to prolong when they start. Just because they have the right information, they have those proper tools. And so, no, they're not just going to be out here having sex because they're talking about sex. Like, they actually need that educational piece to be able to make better informed decisions.
Absolutely.
So I just, oh, God. You're right. So I was like, totally agree. We get on our soapbox.
It's you know, it's not simple, but it's so simple, because it all starts with education. And I don't know how the schools work here in the States, but, you know, are there programs, or I know there is some kind of sex ed, I think, I'm not sure, where they might show a video of all that stuff, you know, but are we talking about sexual abuse? Are we talking about rape? Or is it more about safe sex, practicing safe sex, how to put on a condom, whatever the situation is? Or, you know, are we talking about molestation, about rape, about abuse, about all this other stuff? So, you know, schools and I think it starts there. It starts with our educators, and it starts with, you know, with politics and politicians and changing the laws and regulations and stuff like that. And, you know, I know it's hard, but we need to start somewhere, and it's hard. It's hard sometimes. It's very, very hard. It's very, very frustrating. Like I said, you know, I can't even get to the media, or have a lot of the media kind of tell my story or back me. And it's funny, because I'm working with a coach for my TED Talk, and, you know, these are his words, but he's like, Nathan, you need to realize you are the pioneer for this. You are one of the very first men to come forward and talk about this so openly and publicly and so real, that, like all the, you know, the people who have come before you for their own causes, it's rejection after rejection after rejection. It's no after no after no. But all you need is that one person to say yes. All you need is that one person to open that door for you. And as soon as they open that door for you and you walk through it, you're going to open that door for the thousands of people coming behind you. So, you know, I'm very optimistic, and I've got a lot of things happening, and, you know, it's funny. It's something I never wanted to do. It's something I never wanted to talk about and come out about, but through my therapy and my group therapy, which completely saved my life, and I recommend therapy to anyone. Through that, I now understand who I am. Like I said, I understand my life, my relationships, and it's about giving back now. I've hurt a lot of people in the past. I did a lot of bad things and wrong things. So now it's about giving back and saving lives and being the voice for the voiceless, being the one who's going to, you know, break down those doors and really try and make a difference for the thousands who are coming behind me and who want to be a part of this and create change.
God, yes. And I just think I can't admire that enough, that is absolutely part of your path, and that you do that, and that you also do it in such creative ways too, though. Like, you've also dedicated, you know, your talents, because obviously we've learned that, you know, there are a lot of things that you're able to engage in, but being able to blend that and give that voice. I agree. I also think, I mean, not only is it needed, but I think especially from individuals like yourself who have that proper knowledge behind it and know, like, the importance of being able to advocate for these issues and the importance of having these conversations, and how much they're not happening already, like we had talked about before. So I agree that, like, not only is it needed in that way, but we can't do it enough. And so it's definitely going to take more of that advocacy and more of that awareness building to be able to make sure that does happen and that it does flow. And to be honest, it is normalized, because right now we are having to have advocates, and we are having to have awareness builders, because unfortunately there are a lot of people that are still apprehensive. And so it would be nice to be in a world where these are just normal conversations. If anything, people are just asking like, well, how did you guys talk about it today? Because, you know, like, how did that conversation go? But unfortunately, we're having to help individuals even realize why they should have the conversation at all, and then give them those tools later. And so even though that's part of it, I, like you, love to be able to do it. I think it's like worthy work to be able to do. And it would help because, you know, as a survivor yourself, obviously it's great to be that advocate for others. That would have been great for you to have as a child also. I mean, I'm glad you eventually had your support, and like you said, and you were able to have what you know, had, but it just definitely would have been great to also, you know, to be able to have that. And so now that you're able to be that for others, it's just phenomenal. And I definitely applaud that incredible work that you're doing. And I just love to see others do it. But with that, that's what I also wanted to ask about as well, is that, you know, given that you care so much about education and like advocating for others and, you know, being able to do that, I kind of got a sense of how you were able to kind of like get into that world. But how is it that you currently, like, are you just, you know, how is it that you provide that education yourself? Is it just, you know, the talks that you're having? You know, do you go out and seek certain opportunities? How does that go?
I guess it is more so through the talks that I'm having, and through, you know, when I do get keynotes and stuff. And I think it's important to have, I think it's amazing that, you know, there are people like yourself who are doing these podcasts, and there are a lot more coming out now, and a lot more people talking about this, about mental illness, about trauma, or about, you know, rape and abuse and whatever. But a lot of it is related to women still, but there's not so much for men. So for me, it is through talking to someone like yourself, and, you know, all these amazing organizations like your one, like Hope, and you know, the other organizations I'm associated with these book awards as well. So it's through that. It's through giving my talks. It'll be through the TED Talk, but it's also through the creative side as well. So if I can, like I said, a movie script's been written about my life that's with producers now. So if we can get this movie made, that is also, you know, that will reach thousands and millions more people than you know, our little talk right now. So if we can start creating TV shows and movies and awareness through that, it's going to reach a greater audience, a global audience. So for me, it is about what I want to do ultimately in my life and my career, and where I'm at now, is to have my advocacy work and my activism work, and doing this stuff, and doing the podcasts and the keynotes and all that type stuff, with my writing of scripts and screenplays and acting and writing shows about this stuff, and writing movies about this stuff, about social justice and what we need to talk about, combining the both and building them both as one, and moving forward like that. So combining the activism and the advocacy with the writing and the movies and the acting, build it as one, and build that platform and build my platform, so that I can have a greater voice, I can have a greater influence, and really get out there and talk to the world about this, show the world through movie, through film, through TV, through, you know, I'm also in the process of creating a documentary type show of men talking to men about men's issues. So make it like a 6-part TV series. The first one being about shame, the second one being about toxic masculinity, third one being about, you know, the anger and the hatred we have with the world and through trauma and stuff. And then have special guests like, you know, special therapists come and speak, or someone like yourself who knows it from a female perspective, from a male perspective. Have all these different people come on board and talk, and just get a male perspective, a female perspective, a, you know, psychotherapist, a trauma therapist, you know, just all these different people in the same world talking about it, but, you know, where it relates to men and how we need to change the narrative. I also, you know, we have the Me Too movement, which has been an amazing thing for women, but why can't we have the Men Too movement? Just an N at the end of that me, have a Men Too movement. So, you know, we don't have to do our marches or anything, but just kind of have the hashtag, get it out there and build it that way. You know, so that's something I also want to build. So there's a lot of work we can do. I can do as an individual, we can do as a community, and support one another, and just really collaborate and work with each other. And the more of us that are talking about this, the more of us that are doing work on this, the more of us that are showing up, obviously that the greater the audience will be, and the greater the reach will be. So, you know, that's the plan. let's hope it works out, fingers crossed, touch wood. But it is, like I said, it's very difficult because it's such a tough subject, and it is a hard subject. It is hard to talk about this stuff. It really is. It's not an easy subject to talk about, but the more we do it, the easier it will become, the more accepting it will become, and the more lives we're going to save. And that's what it's all about when it comes down to it. It's all about saving lives.
Absolutely. And that's always what makes it worth it, because it's like any life that can be saved with this, any life that can be impacted with this, or anyone that can be validated by this, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it to be able to do that. And just for people to know that they're not alone in these situations,
Yes.
and that there are individuals where it's happening to, and there are individuals that want to help you. Like, I want them to know that both of those things exist, and that because of that, we should absolutely have more of those conversations and build more of those connections, between people, and let them know that, yeah, we're definitely doing it. But I am incredibly excited for what I heard, because it definitely sounds like amazing work. And it is wonderful to see that blend, like you said, with your creative forces and all those great energies that you put into that, but also see that combined with advocacy. And I agree that we do need a larger audience, to be able to make this conversation heard by others and also normalized in general. We definitely need to see it in more screens, in more households, and just be a part of more productions. And so it's just amazing to hear that you want to be able to do that, and that you're like finding a creative way to blend those things together and reach more individuals ultimately, and build that impact. So I think, yeah, for sure.
I think you touched on a very important thing, in that as victims, as survivors, all we really want is to know that we have that support base, know that we have the people who are going to listen to us, who are going to support us, who are going to believe us, and who are just going to sit there with us. Because most of the time, all we want is for someone to sit with us, someone to listen. And I think most important thing for survivors who are going through this, who are going through the shame and a toxic masculinity, and we don't know how to handle this, and we get anxious, we get nervous, we get depressed, and we start breathing too fast and too quickly, and we can't handle it, or we stop breathing at all. I think the most important thing is to breathe. Just take those deep breaths, because if you take those deep breaths, you come back into your body, you ground yourself, you're able to control the situation. So I think that is very, very important for people to know, is just to be able to breathe and sit with someone, listen to someone, and make sure you have that support base, because that is most important. Because when we are going through those tough times, and I've been through them, when I've been completely depressed and wanting to kill myself and just wouldn't talk to anyone for days, all I really need is for someone to sit there with me and just be there with me. We don't even need to talk, but I just need to know that someone's there. And we all do have someone out there who can listen, who will listen, whether it is through an organization, whether it is through a hotline, whether it is family, friends, wife, husband, whatever the situation is, we do have that support. But we just need to make sure that that support is truly going to be there for us, and listen and be there and breathe with us, and just support us.
Absolutely.
Far too many people go to speak to someone, and that someone will say, well, are you sure it wasn't your fault? Are you sure it happened that way? Don't be stupid, that never happened.
God, I know, that's a horrible question. And I get it, because it's such a go-to too, like as a human being, like, because we want to ask and we want to like inquire, but we just don't know, again, how damaging that can be to ask someone when they've developed the courage and came to you and is coming forward with this. And then the first thing you say is like, well, are you sure? Are you sure that happened? Are you like, and then of course they're questioning everything that they have possibly said up until that point, and whether or not they should have said anything at all, because you're asking them to question whether it even occurred and if they are even sure that it happened.
Exactly. And that's when they go back into their shell, and that's when they keep it secret now for the next 10 years, or that's when they, I hate to say this on the podcast, they go kill themselves, or they'll go and hurt themselves or cut themselves or do whatever they do, because fuck, no one's believing me. What's the point anymore? I might as well just fucking, be done with it. And I felt that way as well. And I've been in that situation as well, but I finally found the right base. And I think the most important thing is finding, if you do go to therapy, find that therapist who does really get it, who does understand. Because I have been to therapists in the beginning, and yes, they may be book smart, but they've never lived it, so they don't understand it.
Right.
So I think, find the therapist that is going to work with you and can go there with you.
Right.
That was very important for me as well.
Absolutely. And I agree. And because getting back to we talked about that importance of just having that support system. I also love what you said before about how it really is simple, but we don't make it simple. We complicate it, even though something that should be simple, that should simply, be what it is. Same thing holds true with the support. Sometimes because I think we get overwhelmed with how is it that we should help a person, or how should we show up for them? What should I say? What is it? Sometimes just sitting there, it isn't what you're saying. It isn't anything that you need to do. It's just that presence that you provide. And so sometimes I think we overcomplicate those things in those ways. But I also love what you're saying about therapy. Yes, I think therapy can absolutely be helpful, but are you going to find the perfect fit on the first try? Probably not, just like dating. I mean, you might not find the right partner right away. You gotta try. You gotta sit around.
Oh, I'm still trying. I'm still trying.
Oh no, same. As a single person, I'm out here. I'm just trying to figure it out. I haven't stumbled upon the recipe yet, but I'm just maybe if I stay the course, I figure it. But I agree with you that because it does have to be alignment, and it helps to align with the right person and get that right support that is going to make you feel validated and not questioned, or make you feel like you are being, diagnosed instead of being supported. So it's just there's definitely a very big difference in that. And I definitely think there's value in it, but I also think that when that happens, though, when we don't find that immediate support, it's easy for us to want to give up and then, use that as an excuse to be okay, see, I tried, didn't work out. Obviously, I need to keep doing this. When it's no, you could be on the brink of it. It's just that it might not come right away. Healing absolutely does not happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. It's an everyday thing. And I've been going on this journey for 12 years and I'm not perfect. I'm not fully recovered. I evolve every day. I learn every day. I educate myself every day on this. And it's a growing thing. We're always growing, whether we've been through trauma or not. And trauma is all relative. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It's all relative. It's all about how you handle it, how you get through it. And I think another important thing, which is one thing that I've learned, is that when something hits me, when I'm going through depression or whatever, I let it hit me. I'll see where it lands on my body, what it does to me, how it makes me feel. And then I'll educate myself on it. Instead of throwing it away, I'll educate myself on it so that when it hits me again, I know how to move forward with it. I know how to handle it. I'll evolve with it. I grow with it. Because if you just throw it away and pretend it's all gone and I'm better now, it's going to come back and hit you twice as hard. It's going to build and build and build until it fucking just goes off and then you go off and you do something silly or you do something whatever. And it's another thing that people need to educate themselves on also and understand is that I've had so many people say to me, Nathan, just get over it, move on. It happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago now, just move on. But it's not about that, because what happened to me, what happened to you, all of our trauma is now a part of us. It's a part of our DNA. It's a part of who we are. And again, we move forward with it. We evolve with it. We grow with it. It's not about, okay, I was raped as a kid, I'm going to throw it away and pretend it never happened, because eventually it's going to come back and kick my ass and just, do it that way. So it's about moving forward with it, evolving with it, educating ourselves on it. And I think that's what a lot of people who haven't been through it need to understand, because they'll say, Nathan, you were 8 years old, you're now 44. Why are you still talking about this? Because it's in me. It's who I am. It's never going away. It's about understanding it and moving forward with it.
Oh, absolutely. And I just think too, that thing, like you said, that, we hate to have to admit, on these platforms, but suicide is real. And so that also is the thing, is that, I think we are quick in many societies, especially American culture. I can definitely say that, having it definitely lived here, is that, we do that a lot. We definitely tend to want a quick fix, and we want something to, quickly be erased. Okay, we talked about it. That's nice. But can we move on from that? Can we go on to the next thing? Can we leave it away in the past? And we don't realize that, okay, but when we do that, like you said, not only will it resurface and, find itself in a different way. But also, these are the reasons why some people, like you, are surprised by the fact that they were here 1 minute and then they honestly like ended their life the next. And we're like, oh, what happened there? Like, why didn't they feel supported? Why didn't we think? But these are the same people that we told, well, why are you still talking about that thing? Why did you why are you still like worrying about that? Instead of giving them that proper space and, giving them that proper, ability and opportunity to even, be able to speak and process on what they were going through. And then they felt like they had to deal with it alone. And so I just think like,
we need that platform. Like you just said, we need that platform to be able to talk about this, to be able to say, listen, I'm not okay. I'm going through this. Right. I feel this. I'm doing this. I'm hurting myself this way. I'm hurting someone that way. We need to realize that it's okay not to be okay. And and like the old saying goes, and I live my life by this, that hurt people hurt people. Oh yeah. Again, so fucking simple. Hurt people hurt people. But it's funny, in the preface of my book, I talk about that. But the editor of my book, the publisher, sorry, of my book in Australia, she wrote something back to me, and I'm not sure if she came up with this term or where she got it from. She told me she came up with it, so maybe she did. She said, Nathan, healed people heal people. And that is, as important as hurt people hurt people, healed people heal people is so much more important, because I'm now healed and healing myself, but in healing myself, I'm healing others. And in healing others, these people are healing me as well, because I'm learning so much more from them. That's why group therapy was such a great thing for me, because not all of us in group had been through sexual abuse, but we'd all been through some form of trauma. So it was all very relatable. We were all able to learn and grow from each other and ask the questions. And it's like, holy fuck, yes, I've never been through that, but I felt the exact same way, or I did the exact same thing. So it's, again, it's all about communication. It's all about education. It's all about surrounding yourself with the right people. And, like, as we've both touched on, it's so fucking simple, but we just complicate it with the noise in our head, with the background noise through social media and these different platforms. And as amazing as social media is, it is so detrimental as well, and so dangerous. So, we just need to make sure we surround ourselves with the right people and do the right things and follow the right things as well. We can talk about this till we're blue in the face, but it's, we can talk about it or we can do it. It's about doing.
Oh, absolutely. And then speaking of platforms, I think it's also, like you said, it's incredible that you want to blend, being able to, the acting world and also, with the advocacy and all that. Did you always know, by the way, that you wanted to, get into acting? Like, did somebody put you onto it? How'd you get there?
I talk about it in my book, and it all came from when I was a kid and going through this abuse with this man when I was at home with my family. Like I said, my siblings would be outside playing with friends and riding their bikes in the street and doing what they do as 10, 12, 15-year-old kids. I would just sit at home and watch movie after movie after movie, and that was my way to escape. That was my way to escape what I was going through in my head and live in this other world, live through these characters on TV and in these movies. And that's where my love for film came from and my love for writing came from. And it's funny because I topped English at school, but I never put two and two together that I could be a writer. And my writing came from therapy, because I was so blocked and so closed off and had suppressed everything. My therapist would ask me all these questions and I just couldn't answer them. So he would give me this homework. All right, Nathan, here's a bunch of questions. Go home and write about it. Write it down. So I would write it down, and I had pages and pages and chapters of my story and my life and what I'd been through and my relationship with men, whilst trying to have relationships with women and trying to find a girlfriend and be in this relationship with this girl, but fucking all these men and getting violent and the drugs. And so I had all these pages of notes, and both my therapist and then my best friends and the closest people to me, like, Nathan, you need to do something with these notes. You need to do something with all these chapters. So I started writing it and wrote a script. And then from there, I did a bunch of screenwriting courses. And then from there, I had a big article come out about me in Australia, about my story, and that was kind of the start of the whole journey. I had this article come out in 2018, and through that, about a year later, I had a publishing house in Australia reach out to me and say, Nathan, we want you to write your memoir. So I wrote the memoir. I started in 2019 and wrote through COVID, and then there was a year of edits and rewrites and cleanups and all that stuff, and then the book was released late last year. So it's, it's all been through therapy where I learned about my writing and I could write, and I found it very easy, and it came to me very easy. And then it just grew from there. So for now, it's something I love doing. It can be very frustrating when you sit in front of a computer and you got nothing. But it's, it's a journey, and I've embraced it, and I know what I'm getting myself into with the whole activism work, with the whole advocacy work, with the whole, the rejection after rejection. It's heavy and it's hard, and it weighs on you. But I know what I signed up for, and I'm in it now for the long haul, and I'm going to succeed. I'm not going to take no for an answer. And we're going to do some amazing things. And I want to do some amazing things with you and Eileen, and just, all these amazing organizations, and really create change. And I want to be a global leader on this, and just really, I might be talking out my ass right now, but this is, these are my dreams and my hopes. And I want to, again, like I said, because it is a global epidemic, and we need to fucking not just have it in Australia and America. We need to go to Europe and talk about this. We need to go to the Middle East. We need to go to South Asia, to India and all these other countries, and really talk about this and create change and say, listen, this is real life. This is happening every single day. We will never, ever end it. We will never, ever end it. And I can say that confidently, but if we can save one life, then we're doing the right thing. And then if we, through that saving that one life, we can save 2, 3, 4, 5,000, amazing. So yeah, that's it. That's where I'm at.
Oh man, no. And I think, and what's incredible is you ended up touching on what I also wanted to ask, was also the book. So I was gonna say, I know it's been mentioned several times, but I was curious how that also became part of your story as well. Did you make it in the midst of stuff? Was it from the very beginning? And so it is incredible that, given your healing though, it was during that part of the process that you were able to unlock that story that was always within you. It was your story to tell, but just that it helped you to be able to really, face that, and then, being able to put that to the paper. And so being able to have those thoughts there, and then those collective thoughts being a part of now a memoir, that was actually asked of you too. They actually approached you, to be able to finish that.
And a lot of people ask, Nathan, are you okay with this? Are you sure you can do it? With the acting stuff, are you sure you can act? And, do you want to act in this movie? Do you want to act in this? And do you want to do this? But writing the book and writing the script was so therapeutic and cathartic. And I learned so much about myself, and I grew so much, and I learned so much about, like I said, my relationships with all these different people, with life, with sex, with alcohol and drugs, and just, everything. That now I'm at the place in my life where I have the tools in place where I can handle it. I can talk about it. I can act it. I can write about it, because I've done the work. If I hadn't done the work, then it would be different. But because I've done the work, now I'm okay mentally and emotionally, and I'm very strong, and I know I can do it. So yeah, writing the book and writing the script has been very cathartic and growing and evolving for me, and educational for me. And through all that, I am now able to speak about it and speak to others and help others. So it's, it's definitely been a journey, and I'm exhausted. Talking about it is heavy stuff, and talking about it every day is, it's a lot. But again, the most important thing is, like we've spoken about, is to surround yourself with the right people and do the things you need to do to keep yourself going and to keep yourself fit and to keep yourself healthy. So for me, the gym, and I talk about this a lot in my book, the gym. I used to be a boxer, and I still do a lot of boxing. I did a boxing workout this morning. Weights, going for a run or going on a bike, that's my medicine now. That's my drug of choice. That's my addiction, because that keeps me healthy in the mind, most importantly, but also in the body. So do things that are going to keep you healthy fit mentally and emotionally, more so than physically. And surround yourself surround yourself with people that are going to keep you healthy and fit mentally and emotionally as well, and who aren't going to weigh you down, who aren't going to drag you back to those dark places. Very important for me, and I'm sure it's very important for most people who are going through this. And it's like AA, you go to those meetings to be surrounded with those people for the support, to be able to talk about it, to be able to share, and also to give back, to talk to reach out to the ones who you've hurt. Most important as well for me as well is being able to do that. And one of the most important things to me was owning my shit. I did a lot of bad things. I've hurt a lot of people, but once I owned it, I understood it, I was able to move forward with it. The shame started to go away. The anger, the hatred. Forgiveness is an important thing as well. Being able to forgive myself, but also going to a certain extent of being able to forgive this man. Because if I don't forgive this man, I'm going to hold all this hatred and anger inside of me, that it's just going to build and build and build until one day I explode again and I do something stupid. And, I say this, and, whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing to say, I'd love to sit with this man. He's dead now, but I would love to sit with him and ask him questions. Why it happened to me, why he did it to me, did it happen to him? All these questions. But then I'd take a baseball bat and I'd kill him. Not because of what he did to me, but so he can't do it to someone else. Because once you do it to one kid, you do it to plenty. You do it to 10, 15, 20 of them. So, right or wrong, that's how I feel. I'd want to sit with him and ask him questions, but then, I forgive him, but there's still that hurt. There's still that anger. There's still that, inside of me, but I need to just kind of move forward with it and forgiveness. And that was a big part for me as well, is being able to forgive, being able to own my shit, and realizing that you're more of a man if you are vulnerable, if you're able to cry, if you're able to talk about it. Whereas men have always been bred, and it's instilled in us, and it's groomed into men that men don't cry, men are strong. We don't talk about our feelings or our emotions. We hold it all inside. But that's what kills you. That's what sends you down that dark path. But for me now, I'm able to sit and talk to you about this stuff. I'm able to cry with you. I'm able to show vulnerability and show emotions and all of this stuff. And most important, I'm able to listen to you as well. I'm able to sit here and listen. So yeah, it's been a journey, and I've evolved, and I've learned so much about life, and I've grown so much, and I've turned into the man that I'm supposed to be. People always ask if I have regrets, and yes, I have regrets because I've done a lot of bad things, but I wouldn't change a thing now, because everything I've been through, everything I've done, I've learned from, and it's brought me to where I am today. And today I'm sitting here and speaking with you and going on this journey and wanting to help people and save lives and create change. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't go through it all, if I didn't do all the things. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a life. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. I've lived 10 lives. I should be dead. I should be in jail. I should have AIDS. I should have all these things. But again, touch wood, someone's looking out for me. I have a guardian angel up there, and they're, showing me the way, and yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that divine protection. And I just think like you said, I just think it's awesome to hear that, you built up these great supports and you have that. And then that's what propelled you and helped you to be ready for, being able to provide these messages and being able to help others. And that's why it's important, for us to identify whatever those supports are going to look like for us, who's going to be part of our network and village, because we're not alone, but we need to remember that and take advantage of that, and not try to do all this work by ourselves, and take that all on by ourselves when there are people ready and willing to help us and be there for us. And if we haven't found those people, well, there might be people that you're listening to right now. It might be new people that you need to find. And, if you don't feel connected to those individuals, because there are clearly people who dedicate their entire lives to be able to, this kind of work, much like yourself. And so it's just, definitely connecting with those folks and, knowing that they're out there, but then also, building that connection. Absolutely. And so I could definitely talk to you all day, But I do want to give you space to be also able to tell us, speaking of the book, like where individuals can find a book, where they can find you, how they can connect with you, especially if they resonated with anything that you shared, and how they can connect with you further.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you can get my book on any online bookstores, on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, and Target. And it is in some of those bookstores. But the easiest way for those, because everything's done online, is just go to Amazon and purchase it from there. And you can find me. I guess the best way I'm on Facebook and all of those social media. Best way to find me is on Instagram. Reach out to me, send me a DM on Instagram, follow me on that, and I'll get you back. And it's just my name, Nathan Spiteri. That's the best way to follow me, is just through Instagram, Nathan Spiteri. And the book is called Toy Cars. And everyone out there, get it, read it. It's an amazing read. I'm not just saying it because it's mine, but read the reviews if you want. And I want to make this book a New York Times bestseller. I want to get it out there and make it, make it global and have everyone read it, because it is, as much as it is my story and it is about sexual abuse, it's about trauma in general. And anyone who's been through any kind of PTSD, anyone with mental illness, domestic violence, any form of abuse, anyone could relate to this book. So yeah, get it, read it, leave me a review. But yeah, follow me on Instagram. That's the best way to get me.
Look at that. So y'all heard it. Y'all heard it here. Please reach out, because absolutely, you just incredible work that's being done. I mean, I'm also incredibly excited for all the things that you're going to do as well, because there's so much, and just a beautiful blend between that advocacy work, but also, the creative work that you're doing, and just, definitely want to tap in and be a part of that. So
absolutely.
Is there anything else
you guys?
Like to...
No, I can't wait to meet you guys in October. I'll definitely be there on the first day. I don't know if I can be there on the second day, because the second day, on the 21st, we actually have a full dress rehearsal for our TED Talk, which I need to be in Dallas for. So I know it's Houston and Dallas, and it's not too far, but I spoke with Eileen about it, and I'll definitely be there on the 20th. And I can't wait to meet you guys and have some fun. We need to have some fun in our lives.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. So thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and we appreciate you so much, and you viewers for tuning in.
Thank you so much as well. Take care.
Absolutely.